I'm going to try something a little bit different in this video, a little bit more real world, not so much of the manifestation type or style video. So I really want to talk about creating success and the steps that you have to do to create success. Everybody always talks about goal setting and moving forward towards success in that way, but something that really dawned on me when I was meditating about it today was the one thing that has really made a difference in terms of why I have gotten to the stage I've gotten in terms of my personal success, in terms of my financial success, in business and what I'm creating, and no matter what I do, is this this ability I have to throw myself into the deep end. No matter what it is, what challenge that I've undertaken, whether it's writing books or pushing myself to start really dynamic, complex businesses, or product lines or corporations, no matter what it is, I will kind of start things that are way beyond my capacity. And I don't mean kind of, I mean, I tend to go for things that are so far beyond what I really understand how to do in the now moment. And I just don't see it as, I don't see any roadblocks. And where a lot of people, I think, get tripped up in life is that they're looking at their capabilities like right now, like, okay, well, right now I don't have the skills to do this. Right now I don't know all the pieces. Right now I couldn't put everything together, and therefore they don't even start. And for most of the things that everything I've ever done in my life, I didn't have all of the pieces together when I started. I, for the most part, didn't have a clue what I was doing in the beginning of most of my projects. And I just, again, would get to that point where I decided, okay, this is something I'm going to do. And I would be, on that ledge, and I'd jump and hoping for the best. But also what happens is, having this kind of mentality, it forces you to become what it is that you are seeking. So I'm going to state that again. It forces you to become what you are seeking. It actually kind of puts you in this proverbial back against the wall kind of position where you are forced to perform, and you're forced to learn and grow and stretch everything in terms of your own capabilities. And again, I've done this to myself over and over in life, where it's so complex. There's so many legalities and government compliance, or really confusing import-export type situations, or whatever it is. And I have no idea what I'm doing when I kind of say yes to a project. And each and every day, I'm forcing myself to do a tremendous amount of research, a tremendous amount of learning. And what I've realized over the years is that if a human being is doing it out there and a human invented it, I don't care what it is, you can learn it. So having any part of your being feeling like, you're in over your head, or that something is just outside of your wheelhouse, that's a good thing. Because again, it forces you to learn and to grow. And there are going to be times, have been very poignant times in my life where I've felt just overwhelmed, or I end up, breaking down into tears in the middle of my day, because again, it's just so overwhelming, the things that I've layered on myself. Here's an example. I've decided to start a medical center. It is, that was what I decided I'm kind of putting my efforts into this year. I've done things, around medical type practices, but by no means am I a doctor? But the thing about it is, that doesn't mean that you can't hire doctors. It doesn't mean that you can't manage doctors. I mean, obviously with my colleges, we do have medical directors on staff, but this is a whole nother level. We're talking about surgical suites. We're talking about very high level business corporation infrastructure. And most people would be daunted by this. They'd think that this was highly overwhelming. They wouldn't get into it. And what, again, I've found is that when you specifically go into or move into arenas that are new to you or that are highly complex, that is when the best of you comes to the surface. It's when you stretch the capacity of what you are and you expand yourself into horizons that you would have never imagined possible. And I think this is a key principle that isn't often mentioned by some of those individuals that have achieved great success in the world. They really probably haven't highlighted this aspect that you don't always know what you're doing before you do it. You just execute. It's like whatever the task is in front of you, you learn, you execute, you learn, you execute. And in each and every step forward, you are becoming that version of the incredible individual that you're meant to be. So, what else can I talk to you about in terms of success? Well, also the aspect of being fearless. So often, we will let our fears get in the way of doing the things that we want to do. You know, assuming that we might not be good enough, assuming that we don't have all the skills, okay? And again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying before. It doesn't matter that you don't have all the skills in this particular moment. What matters is fundamentally that you push yourself daily to get those new skills. And when you add up all the days throughout the year, by the end of the year, you're going to have 100 new skills that you didn't have before because you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So there's nothing about entrepreneurship that is comfortable. If you are somebody that likes to play it safe, being an entrepreneur likely isn't for you, okay? This is going to be something that requires a lot of fearlessness and it requires a lot of work. I've always owned my own companies, but when I got into business ownership on a more expanded corporate level where I was managing large teams, this is something that, again, it's not something that you can just skate by on 8 hours a day of work. You're going to be working 7 days a week. You're going to be working sometimes 12, 14-hour days, and you're going to be almost on call 24/7. Because again, you're dealing usually, especially in this marketplace, with global markets. There's people that are contacting you at all hours of the night. That's what I've found in my businesses anyways. And I would assume, again, when I look at the transferability, from industry to industry, most industries are now taking advantage of just the savings in terms of buying power with going overseas, okay? So most industries are going to fall into this category of, you're going to have to work a certain amount in the evening to be able to manage all your shipments, take care of all of the other aspects that are happening across the globe, when those other parts of the world are working. So again, it's when you look at creating that life of your dreams, don't be afraid to put in the work. Don't be afraid to push yourself past the limits that you thought you had to exist within. Greatness never shows itself under easy circumstances. No one ever got to be where they are and to be able to achieve great things by way of a really easy path. And if somebody is trying to sell you the 4-hour work week, or, you know, some of these different things that I always laugh when, you know, friends start reading books like that. And I'm like, well, you know, it's a nice idea. But in reality, you can achieve a certain amount of success with putting in minimal hours. And again, you have to define what success is for you. But if you're really fundamentally passionate about what you're doing to the point where you want to really make an impact in your industry, or really make an impact in the world, you're not going to be okay with just putting in 4 hours. You are going to be putting in everything that you are, and that's going to require a little bit more than 4 hours. So, you know, and it's not to make fun of people that think that, you know, that they can work half-ass and achieve really phenomenal things. It's just, in my experience, to me, it's like the universe is asking, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to see these things that in your imagination come to fruition? And if you're kind of answering that reply to the universe with, well, you know, I'm going to put in a couple hours a day, then that's really how hard the universe is going to work for you as well, kind of at a half-time interval. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with work-life balance if that is the kind of life that you are craving or wanting or desiring. But if you are that kind of entrepreneur that wants to create something that is, again, large scale, global, you know, massive amounts of locations, franchise, you're not going to be able to fundamentally start something from scratch and work only a few hours a day. And, you know, I guess the question would then be, then what is the payoff? What is the payoff for going to this, you know, next level, or that, you know, large scale of success? Obviously, though, there's going to be some financial rewards, no doubt about it. But for me, that's never my fundamental driver. My fundamental driver is always having a passion for change, having a passion for making the world a better place. And when you're coming from that being your why, you have a certain amount of energy, or a reservoir of energy, that I have found that is almost inexplicable. When you have this desire to change the lives of others, to really impact the world with your life, it becomes an energy all on its own. And I think that's really one of the foundational principles of the entrepreneur is, you know, certainly there are those entrepreneurs that truly just want that financial gain. But the ones that change history, the ones that really do something extremely different, their why has very little to do with money and a heck of a lot more to do with changing the landscape of the planet, changing lives for others, making products and systems and institutions that revolutionize the way we do life. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this video up. Again, a little bit different than my regular videos, a little bit more a window into my own entrepreneurial spirit, and one of the things that, you know, drives me each and every day. And so yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in the next video.